I got a great question submitted online yesterday, and I wanted to create a short video to talk it through with you. So the question was, why is it that some people seem to have an infinite supply of stories and other people draw a total blank when somebody asks them to share something about their lives? Now, if you fall into that latter category, it is really tempting to have that thought, everybody else is so much more interesting than me. I live such a boring life. Now, this is something where if you've heard me talk at all about storytelling, you've probably heard me talk about the storytelling mindset. And this is one facet of it, because where our focus is, and our focus is determined by our own thoughts and stories, that is where our attention will naturally gravitate. Meaning, if I keep repeating to myself, I have a boring life, nothing ever exciting happens, then my attention is focused solely on proving me right. But what's happening on the sidelines is all the interesting things in your life are passing by, and you might notice it for a second, but because your attention is so focused on confirming that you're boring, all of those cool moments are just flying by you. And they may register for a second, but they're not sinking in, they're not being anchored. Whereas, I'll tell you a secret, some of the best storytellers that I know, some of the most engaging people at parties, don't live extraordinary lives. They're not riding on the back of lions or, grew up in the circus, right? I don't know why I came up with those two examples, but you know what I mean, right? The crazy thing is that they just pay attention to the fascinating, crazy, weird things that happen all day long. So if you find yourself thinking all the time, I'm boring, I don't have any stories to tell, I'm not that interesting, I want you to do an experiment. And you can just see, right? Just start to see. If you gave yourself a week, and at the end of day one, you asked yourself, what happened today that was interesting? Like if I have to find one or two things that happened today, what was interesting? And you will have to rack your brain. Your brain will be going like, nothing. Our life is boring. We don't have anything happen. And then all of a sudden, well, that funny thing that my boss said in the meeting that everybody kind of like shrugged and was like, what the hell is he talking about? That was kind of funny. And so they take your phone and in your notes or wherever you want to put it, or if you're analog, I love paper, write it down, but someplace that you can keep that easily accessible for you. And then what will happen is because you directed your focus to trying to find something interesting, the next morning you will wake up and your brain will go, that was kind of hard to have to look back on the day and figure out what was interesting. So maybe I'll pay a little bit more attention today. And all of a sudden at lunchtime, maybe you overhear a conversation between two work colleagues next to the coffee machine and you start to chuckle and you go, oh wait, I'm laughing. That was funny. Like that was a funny moment. I'm gonna write that down. I've already done my homework for the day. And as that feedback loop starts to happen, it's the craziest thing because your mind, because you've redirected it, starts to look for all of the interesting things that are happening in your life. And shockingly, you start to find your life more interesting. So if you find yourself continuing to say, I've got no stories, life is boring, try it out. Just see. Experiment, right? If it doesn't work, go back to your boring life. But you may just find that your life is a whole lot more interesting than you ever gave it credit for.